I feel it's very important to understand because a lot of people are seeking truth. They're seeking a truth. And just like your soul has a spark that will create things within your life, the same with truth. There's a foundation to truth. And that's what a lot of people are seeking. And through all of this, you could say the number one truth is returning back to your home again, to remember that, because that's your divinity of where you've come from, where you will always return back to. And it is your true state. And when you remember that in love, then you could start to bring that here. And they call about heaven coming to earth. You could literally bring that here within your reality. So yeah, to the best of your ability anyways, with everything that's, all the other stuff that's here as well. So,
Could you even go as far as saying that death actually, we've got it a bit backwards by ways of actually it ought to be celebrated to some degree because you're actually returning home to your family.
Exactly. So people think of death now where it's something sad. And actually, anytime when I hear somebody go through a near-death experience, or they have the first out-of-body experience, or even if someone close to them has died, that is a very exciting thing for me because I could directly tap into that individual and make them remember where they come from. And that is part of the mission of what I'm doing. Part of the work that I'm doing is to not allow people, but to trigger people to remember that. Because when someone's passing or they die, you could ask them the simple question, well, where do you think they went to? Or if they were about to die, if you were to die, where do you think you would have gone to? And then they'll start asking, saying, oh, I think this and I think this. I think I will go here. And I say, stop thinking for a moment. Like, just tune into what you feel would happen to you. And automatically what happens, even without coming out of the body, you could tune that individual back to its original state, back to its home of remembering. Because then that individual will start thinking of its own version of heaven. Because on the other side, everybody has their version of heaven. And typically, if you are in the heart of unconditional love, here, because your heart is a toroidal field, electromagnetic field. And when that is activated, you could say it holds the power of the sun, what is considered a stargate. And that could bring through your heaven here, and you use your brain as just what it's used for, decoding things. But your heart is the thing that creates everything, pretty much. And your heart could create the most hellish experiences, but also ones in unconditional love, too, depending if you step out of it.
The veil of forgetfulness, what function does that serve, in your opinion?
Okay. So this goes back to what I was told a while ago, that this, and also experienced too, that this creation, let's just say the construct, replace the word construct for scientifical terms as universe. So this particular universe, this construct, was created to experience that which we are not on the other side. So this is where you get the illusions of through the body only, of pain, suffering in that way, where you can imprison the physical body. You can't imprison the soul. You have the illusion of birthing and creating a new soul, not necessarily how it is on the other side. So you have all of these creations here to experience the opposite of who you actually are. And with that also comes the unforeseen events. Yeah. And it wasn't necessarily supposed to be quite like this, the extremes quite like this. It was supposed to be a gradual process of forgetting to remembering, stepping back into your divinity, your love, and allowing that frequency that will create everything around you to manifest your heaven here in the earthly realm. You could say the first heaven, round 1, is the first heaven out of 12 heavens within this construct.
I think it's useful to provide the rest of our conversation context to explore the construct a little bit. You mentioned you can sub-construct for the word universe, almost one for one. Are there other universes? Are there other constructs? Where have you been in around that? And then you often talk about there being 12 different realms. I know there's a lot of questions fired at you all at once, but maybe
no, that's
all
cool.
That context could be super helpful. Yeah.
No, that's okay. So when I talk about the 12 realms within here, so this construct is universe. So you know that we have a 12 helix DNA, pretty much. 13 if you really add them all together. But right now we're only using 2. Now, if you look into the information as well, we have 13 dimensional structures within the brain. And typically when people come back from a near-death experience or even an out-of-body state, you'll find that some of their, what science calls DNA, becomes more active. You get another strand turned on. Some portions of the brain, the dimensional structures in the brain turn back on as well. Because the physical body was perfectly created based off this construct design, 12, 13 being the container of the realms. And you could call them, I call them anymore 12 heavens to make it very simple, because you have the earthly realm, what you could say is the first heaven. And the second heaven is what people call the celestial bodies above. That would be the second heaven. The third is where you're tapping into things like beings that have disappeared from this plane of reality, and you would call them, just in short, Anunnaki. And then you have the realm of Eden, which is another, you could say, the fourth heaven. Then you have the cathedral heaven. You have the angelic heavens, and it goes all the way up to 13, pretty much. The 13th being the container, as I said before. And the bodies were supposed to, based off who we are and without all the suppression of everything that is on the physical body, we were naturally supposed to tap into all of these things very easily. And when you're younger, you do. And then they call it imagination or whatever, you see, and you suppress these abilities and they become dormant pretty much. And then to go back to what you said as well with the other constructs, are there other constructs on the other side? Yeah. There's many of them, and they're all created by the will of the soul, each individual soul. So on the other side, when you're out, let's just say outside of this known universe, and you're completely out of it, there is a base level of reality there. And another way to look at that base level of reality is imagine that you're walking down a town, and you have the road and the sidewalk is base reality. And left and right hand side, you have houses, homes all over. Let's call those constructs universes, you see. And so when you go into that particular construct universe, it has a certain template, certain rule set based off the individual soul inside that house of the template that it lays of what it wants to experience. And so when you're truly out of here, your soul can create anything that it desires to create based off its will, desire, pleasure, love. And that's what we do. We've experienced so many things on the other side based off of what we love to do. And so this is where we are now. This one was created to experience the opposite of that. And when you look at this, and I know this is, maybe I should try to give a little bit more clarity to this too. Like, yes, unconditional love is you. It's all of us. It's the core of who we all are, because you cannot have unconditional love with a judgment. But you could also say, in order to truly understand unconditional love, you would have to have experienced the opposite of it. Yeah. Like, and some people don't want to hear that, but yeah. Because once you experience the extremes of what it is not, and you experience the unlovable things, then you truly start to step into a state of understanding fully and completely unconditional love. Fully. When you talk about loving everything and everyone around you, and you're in that state, you would have had to experience those unlovable things. And this is where you go into spirituality in New Age stuff. They would want you to lay down your armor in a sense and stepping out of the true frequency of love, because love is very much a weapon too, man. You know, it will pierce through everything. It's the thing that creates everything in creation itself. Yeah. And it's expressed many different ways. I'm not necessarily saying either. A lot of times when I say that, and I try to give a lot of context, but a lot of people, when I say that, so then you are in agreement with the most horrific things here. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. but it's in terms of you could say understanding. You could say seeing it from that state. I could understand it. I could understand it and understand that soul where it's at because it has fallen out of love. And that doesn't necessarily mean that I forsake my love for it, because then that would be the opposite of love. It's no different from a parent and two children. Child one does all the right things. Child two does everything negative, horrific. But you'll never find the parent not loving both of those children.
Is free will something that transcends just this construct and it goes into the others? What role and what are the dynamics particularly of our construct, and what does another construct potentially feel/look like that gives us context in terms of how things could be different in different constructs?
Very similar to here. Yeah, it's the templates seem to remain the same in a vast majority of them. But to answer the free will thing and the freedom, is like it could just be summed up in this way. Like there are, I always say three, because there are three things that are constant, the unchangeable laws of creation in all things. And one of those things are, you cannot have ultimate expression of freedom with a limitation. And so when you really feel into that statement, your soul here right now, even when you leave it, is not limited. There's no limitations placed on you of that which you can do based off your will. And what your will is your will of your soul. Pretty much whatever it desires to do has the authority to do so. And by limiting the soul, then automatically you put judgment on that soul, and then you also break the other law of the universe, which is you cannot have unconditional love with a judgment. So you cannot say you're unconditional loving, but then condemn and judge somebody for doing their ultimate expression of freedom. Because at the same time, the universe is not dictating that soul. That soul is the consciousness which is dictating the universe and creation all around it. Each individual soul is creating their own experience. Me and you right now could be in the same room having the same exact experience, but we will experience it two different ways based off the consciousness of where we are. Yeah, I mean, you take a toy away from a child, the child's going to have a breakdown. You take it away, that same toy away from an adult, it's not really going to care. So that's the same experience experienced in two different ways based off the consciousness of that individual.
Talking about experiences being experienced a different way, I think there's a question for present, and maybe you can answer that, is like when you're traveling through having these out-of-body experiences, and I think there's probably more space where I should be asking more questions about the actual experiences and what they feel like. But nonetheless, if you're traveling out there, is it disconcerting for you when you're moving through realms and potentially meeting angels, or like, do they see you? Do you see them? And that would be the natural question. But then the question I've got, this is how trippy I can be, sorry about this, or not sorry, is it disconcerting for them to meet a human? Like, do they look at you and go, hey, where'd you come from? Like, does it go both ways?
No, because they hold no greater authority than you. Like, you right now, if you were to die and meet one of these beings, they hold no greater authority over you. The only thing that they do, because they understand the three laws of the universe. You can't have unconditional love with a judgment, ultimate expression of freedom with a limitation, nor can you, or consciousness dictates the universe. So all they do is they recognize the spark and the divinity of God within you. There's no difference. It's not like, oh, you are human, because we're not human. You could say even the angels right now, we even hold all of the DNA from the 12 realms within the physical body. That's why we have 12 helix DNA. That's why we have 12, 13 dimensional structures within the brain, because the body has all of that, you could say, that within it. So it's not like that. Yeah, it's very, very, you meet them, they recognize you. And sometimes based off the individual soul, because just because a soul comes here doesn't mean that somehow they're lower either, because some souls have come here with such, I'm going to use this word lightly, but masters in a sense, just based off the accumulation of experience, and they're here. And so when they leave here, they're not looked upon as, or anybody as, oh, you are below. It's 100% equal through and through. And it's very physical.